The profits that a company makes is a byproduct of how much they are committed to their client, how much they respect the industry. One of the biggest things that clients have worry is my contractor going to run away with my money as soon as I pay them?
Hello, and thank you for joining us on Constructive Conversations, the podcast that dives deep into the chasm that exists between contractors and their customers. Our goal is to improve communication between contractors and their customers by interviewing people on both sides and gleaning the keys of how to have your construction project go right. Joining us today is Austin Keddy, owner of Lionheart Custom Homes. Thanks for joining us today, Austin. Do you want to tell our listeners about your company, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Austin, and I own Lionheart Custom Homes. We're a custom renovation contractor with a growth plan to move into custom homes eventually in the future.
How long have you been in the industry and running your company?
Yeah, so I've been in the industry since I was about 16 years old. So that's 11 years and going on 12 here. So, I've been learning my craft since I was 4 years old through my grandfather's garage, and eventually went to school, started learning craft further.
Nice. Awesome. What's your typical projects that your company works on?
Yeah, so my company typically works on medium to large scale renovations currently in the custom field. And custom can be defined as a multitude of things. It can be from multiple selections and then finding the right selection for you, or it could be creating a new vision for a one-of-one design. All depends on what the client wants. We do mostly residential, but we also do boutique commercial as well.
Nice. So you're very customer focused and you're serving specialized needs of a customer. Instead of just having one offering, we do this for you, you're very customer centric.
Absolutely. Customer comes first. Our main focus is we want to provide an experience that's enjoyable for the client. That's first and foremost. The results of the project, it ultimately comes from the communication that we have with our clients, as well as the communication that we have with our subcontractor team that we build to bring in and build these projects for the clients.
Yeah, we talked off air about your team. You're focused on having the specialized team of the right subcontractors, not just whoever you can get to show up. So can you talk more about the importance of that network and how that enables you to provide the service you do?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time vetting our subcontractors. Our main focus with the subcontractors that we bring on is we want leaders in the industry. We want team players. We want contracting companies that specialize in their trades, been learning it for a long time, and have a commitment to the industry as a whole, and not just for contractors' sake, but for our clients' sake as well. We want to make this industry something that clients can trust when they're hiring people again.
And on that note, do you have experience, or have you heard from customers who have experiences with the non-professional contractors, and you hear those headline stories or the nightmare renovation stories? Do your customers typically have some experience in that, and then from their preconceived notions about the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I have had to hear a lot of nightmare stories throughout my experience in the industry. Anything from contractors cutting corners in their work itself, to contractors running away with a client's money or asking for more money on the same scope that they weren't supposed to ask for again. They were only supposed to get paid for once. They misquoted a job and they're trying to get money back so that they don't break the bank on their profits. Unfortunately, once a client has been done poorly by a contractor, their habits tend to be out of fear that it's going to happen again, which is totally fair. If it was myself, I would be the same way. The biggest thing when we come into contact with our clients is to build trust with them first, before they even sign a contract. It's finding out what they require from us, whether it be communication every day on progress of a project, every step of the way, or whether it be they just want to know the big things and be given a heads up if there's problems and communicate how we navigate through those problems. And instead of forgetting about it, create a solution that works for everyone. We do that with our clients together. It's a team.
So you adapt to whatever communication style that they need so they can be comfortable. And what does that conversation look like if you have someone who said, oh yeah, I was ripped off by a contractor in the past and these are my concerns. So like, what are some of the points that you need to address?
One of the first questions I ask is obviously what happened. I want them to walk me through the story of their project from the start to finish, find what pain points hit. That the contractor wasn't communicating, or was it that the contractor was communicating with information that was false? What did that look like for them? Once I find that out, then it's kind of educating them on how we like to avoid those problems and what we provide to them to avoid those problems. So reputation is a big thing in the industry. One of the biggest tips that I can give to anybody searching for a contractor is don't just go off of Google reviews based off of a star rating. Read into the reviews, look for a pattern in those reviews, and ask around. See if people have had work done by that company before and see what they recommend, because you never know what's out there. As well, use social media to ask around for reputable contractors that have done good projects on time, on budget, communicated, those things. The other part of it is educating this potential client on things they can do to safeguard themselves against another contractor doing the same thing to them. There's a few ways they can do that. Asking for licensing is number one. So in Calgary, we have to have a city license to operate, just like any business. Unfortunately, that's really easy to get, and anybody can get it in the construction industry. Whether they have expertise in the industry or not, they can get a contracting license. So ask for that first. Second thing, ask for their insurance. They should have liability insurance in case something goes wrong so that you're not on the hook for it as a client. $2 million to $5 million is usually a good insurance for most contractors. So that's the second thing. The third thing is WCB, making sure that all of their workers and all of their subcontractors have their own WCB. That's very important for you as the client.
Let's get into that specifically for anyone who doesn't know. So what are you opening yourself up to if you have a contractor who doesn't have WCB, or they bring in a sub who doesn't, and they run an alpha knife through their arm?
Yeah, you the homeowner on the hook for it. You're unfortunately liable for anybody that doesn't have WCB that's on your property, whether it be a residential or commercial project.
Yeah, so that's definitely a very important point.
Yeah.
Don't want to be on the hook for that.
And there's one last point. One of the biggest things that clients have worry is my contractor going to run away with my money as soon as I pay them? You can safeguard this in a certain way in Alberta. It's called a prepaid contractor's license. Essentially, it's a license to where the Alberta government checks criminal record of the owner that is applying for it. They check a few other things, and they want you to have a bond to protect the clients against if you shall default for any reason, whether it be the contractor's fault or whether it be some outside source that happens. They have to have a bond to protect if they can't finish a project. That is one of the quickest ways for you to check is online. You can go to Alberta government, search under prepaid contractor's license, search for the company's name. If they do not have it legally, they cannot take money before work is performed. That means no deposits and no payments for work that hasn't been completed.
So no progress payments. Basically, any renovator or major contractor should have that license.
Yeah.
And then that's the protection because they paid the bond to the government of Alberta who's holding that money or something in of that cash value. So then you also have to have the contract signed, which those contractors have to have if they've been approved for a provincial license.
Yeah.
They have to have the standard template contract. And if they don't do the work that you've agreed to, then you're covered, because you can go to the government of Alberta and say, hey, this contractor didn't fulfill their contract. Then the government will pay you out of their bond. And then it's between them and the Alberta government, not you and the contractor trying to go to small claims.
That's correct. Small claims is not going to work out in your favor 9 times out of 10. It's not worth it. It is Lionheart Custom Homes' belief that this should be a regulation inside Alberta, that all contractors doing work direct to customer should have this license. I think it is one of the easiest ways for us to build initial trust. It is the easiest way to ensure that a contractor that's getting money from you, they don't have a criminal background or a past history of doing things like taking money from clients, fraud, and that sorts. And as well, like you said, it's insurance that at least there's a system that goes above court, where there's investigation that happens to protect the clients. That's our first step to gaining trust with clients, is showing them that we can ensure that we're there to work for them, work with them, work for them, and do their amazing projects, right?
Yeah, awesome. Nice. So then tell us about a recent project, or maybe your favorite project that you worked on.
Yeah, we don't have a favorite project. It's gonna sound silly. Every project's our favorite. We build story projects. We work with our clients. We find out a lot about our clients. We're building their dreams. So we don't have a favorite. However, I can tell you about a project that really flipped a little switch on how contractors can collaborate together on a project in a setting where it makes clients feel comfortable and confident of the work that's being performed. So the project was a commercial renovation. It's a company that's moving from one floor to another. They're going through some brand progression stages. They're looking to, bring on investors and create a space that was comfortable for their employees, create a space that represented their brand and the values of their company. It was a helium mining company. And if people don't know much about helium, it's more than balloons and blimps. They actually have a lot to do with the technology that we're transitioning in the world to, building chips and microphones and microscopes. And it's quite amazing. It's used to cool off rocket ships too. So there's a lot of properties to helium that most people don't know about, and it's a natural gas, right?
Yeah.
So the goal of the project was they wanted to develop their brand to showcase that they're a natural product that isn't like oil, for example. So the goal was to bring in executive level finishes that were comfortable, but also mixing in a lot of natural elements and designing spaces with a couple one-of-one pieces.
That sounds like a fun project in that it's not, putting in some cubicles in a typical office. So let's hear about that process. What's that process like for you, the company, and who you work with to make it happen?
Yeah, so one of the challenges with the project was going to be the office itself wasn't going to be shut down during the work. So one of the challenges was we needed a team that was respectful of the space that they were in. We needed a team that was flexible with the employees when they were moving throughout the hallways, and when work couldn't be performed, they could be flexible around those dates and times as well. So essentially the start comes the initial consultation where we met with the clients, found out this image that they wanted for their project, and together with one of our close interior designer partners, we created a plan moving forward of what that renovation was going to look like, what pieces were going to be important to developing this space the way they wanted. And then the interior designer and I worked together to find the team of professionals that were going to get this job done. The designer kind of breaks away at that point, starts working on the creative pieces, and I break apart to contact all the sub-trades and tell them about the project, about the values that we want to bring into the project and the things that were important to the client, see if they were up to the task. And as usual, our A team was. They were ready. So we got the scope ready, we gave the client a price, they're ready to move forward, and we got to work.
Nice. That sounds like an atypical project, which I can imagine would be hard to coordinate. While the office is in use, there's a lot of limitations, and not every contractor would be okay with that, because a lot of them want to be in and out, get everything done, but it's loud and aggressive. So that's awesome that your team was on board to accommodate that custom request for the customer.
Yep.
And let's talk more about the designer. Like, what's the relationship between you and the designer? What's the benefit that the customer gains?
Yeah. So this specific designer, her name is Chris Shimanachek. She owns Palladian Home. And Chris and I met through business networking a while ago. We started just discussing what our values were for our clients, the types of projects we wanted to work on, and what we wanted to do moving forward. And so we actually formed quite a close partnership together. We're two separate companies, but we operate truly as one. It's the one that represents our client. So, through multiple hours of meetings, working on how we can represent our clients the best, our relationship is built business to business on the back that we have the same value. It's build beautiful things for amazing clients, communicate well, and accomplish these dreams of these clients. That was the goal.
I like that. The common factor between you is your values. So it sounds like a good partnership, and sounds like it already is a productive partnership that's based on values, not based on, oh, you're the cheapest, or, oh, I can make money if I work with you.
Correct.
So that sounds like a solid long-term business relationship, and it's customer focused. So
yep,
that's a win for the customer as well. That's awesome. Let's talk some more about communication. So as we've been talking, it's maybe the most important factor when it comes to construction. What are some things that you wish customers were more informed about, whether it's commercial or residential, before going into a big project?
Yeah, it's our job as contractors to educate our clients on the nuances of the construction industry, whether it be process of project, scope of work, or one of the number one questions we always get is price. So it's our job as contractors to really educate our clients, and we as contractors get so sometimes into with doing the work, less into the education portion. So things that we wish that clients kind of were more informed about, obviously, would be price of things, the process of a construction project, and how scope affects a project. Let's take a look at a kitchen renovation, and let's take a look at a simple renovation from a bird's eye view. So from a bird's eye view, we'll use a client as they want to get a new island in their kitchen. Seems pretty simple. Take the island out, bring in some cabinets, put the island in, put the countertops down, hook up the plumbing, and off we go. Clients don't understand this because they don't necessarily know all the things that goes on underneath their island, or it could be as simple as we take the island off and they just ran the flooring up to the cabinets, and the client wants a smaller island maybe, or a different format, and now they have to try and find flooring. And in a lot of cases, because the industry is always evolving with colors and shades, they may not be able to find the same flooring. So now, instead of just replacing the island, now we're taking a look into replacing the flooring. And when we take the flooring off, we're taking all the baseboards off. Then maybe the baseboards are old and we have to replace the baseboards. So what can go from, a $25,000 island, for example, not that that's an accurate number, but a $25,000 island. Now we have 1,000 square feet of flooring at $10 a square foot plus baseboards. Now, maybe we're looking at 45,000 or 50,000 just to replace our island, right? So the process is one thing. The price, like I just kind of brushed over, the price is representative of a few things. One of them being, how long do you want this material to last? What type of material do you want? And how custom you want this material to be. You can get common materials used by everyone, and the price is going to be smaller because it's manufactured. Or you can go with more of a custom handmade tile, for example, that is only made in certain quantities, and it's going to be more expensive. That's just how it goes. So pricing is really, what are you willing to spend on your project, and then creating a project that represents what you're willing to spend. It's more about finding a budget and reverse engineering the scope to fit into your budget. Or if you want, the entire thing, it's get a budget for your higher end custom and then see where you're willing to make some changes to bring it down closer to where your budget number is. There is no one size fits all when it comes to price for any project of any size, because they're all different. We have too many options for us to give you a price.
Yeah, so you're saying the customer needs to have a good idea of what they want, and otherwise if they don't, you're almost better off to start with the budget and say, look, this is what we can do for the budget. You're going to need new floors and new base. So if we accommodate all of that within your budget, then maybe you're not getting the marble countertops. We're going to downgrade your countertops to fit everything else in. Otherwise, if they say, this is what we want exactly as we originally planned it, then they have to be prepared that your scope is going to creep and your prices are going to creep along with the scope. So they should be prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's the best way you find to communicate that with the customer, like to have those conversations? Do you have a session where you sit down and go through stuff like that, or do you have materials that they can look at?
Yeah, so when it comes to custom renovations, the first step is going to be likely a phone conversation. We're going to talk about what your project is and what the general scope is going to be. Anybody that's experienced in the industry should be able to give you a rough bracket of where your pricing may hit. Now, they may give you a high number and a mid number, and then your scope of your project will fit somewhere in between there. We as contractors, generally, I've found, want to be within about 20% of the numbers that we give you, which is usually pretty accurate. And then after that, once you said, yeah, it sounds like our values align, we talk a lot about values of each other, then it's setting up an on-site consultation. When it comes to custom, we suggest that an interior designer always be included on the project in some way, whether it be on the smaller scope with helping with selections, or whether it be you need full design and decor work. Will depend on how much they come into the project, but we strongly suggest we bring an interior designer in with us. And that's why it's important for contractors to build those relationships with those interior designers, because we're going to be your two main points of contact throughout the entirety of your project. And it's important for the three of us to be on the same page value-wise of what's important to you as the client.
So basically it comes down to a lot of communication beforehand, and then maintaining that every involved party stays on the same page throughout.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Another thing I like to cover in the interview is the effect of stress in renovations. Mm-hmm. And I've been on some jobs that have gone on, 6-8 months, that are dragging on. And I was in there doing the work when I was a carpenter apprentice. And I noticed customers get depressed. They were living out of their garage because it's a full kitchen renovation. Winter comes along, there's 3 months of delays on the project, that might not have been avoidable. And I noticed that it affected their mental health strongly. So can you talk about that mental health of major renovations, especially when it comes to the residential reno that's affecting someone's life, their home, and their life by extension?
Renovations are quite invasive. And yeah, we've seen the same. Clients, if they're not communicated with early about the things that are going to happen during the project or the things that might happen, and they're taken by surprise when those things that weren't talked about actually do happen, that's where we start to see usually the most breakdown of mental health during a project. What we found is the pre-project planning stage, where we're building communications with our client and talking about the tough things with them ahead of the start of their project, alleviates a lot of the pain that comes with renovating should something happen, such as a delay of a product or a subcontractor that can't make it due to unforeseen circumstances, weather, things of that sort. We found essentially if you communicate well from the beginning with the client about these things, it hurts less. Another thing is for us at Lionheart, we believe in working with contractors that bring a positive attitude to site when they're doing work. We've found that's important for the subcontractors themselves, the team as a whole, and by extension, the team being the family or the clients that we're working for. So we found that when everyone comes to the site and they're excited and empowered by the work that they're doing, it alleviates a lot of that stress that comes with the project, because when the clients are being communicated well with, they come in and they see all the excitement that's happening on site. Even when a delay happens, they understand a little bit better that at the end of this project, it was going to be worth it.
Right. So what I'm hearing is you communicate into advance what could go wrong to the customers, or what could change, so that the expectation is there. So that way it's not a huge surprise out of the blue if there is a change, delay, whatever it might be. And then the other aspect is the contractors that you have coming in doing the work day to day have positive attitudes. They're not in there, swearing, bringing negative attitudes into the house, which reflects onto the family and whoever's in there. And I like what you said, that the customer becomes almost part of the company, because I've also noticed that you're on a 6-month job. You're friends with whoever's living in that house because you're in there every day, almost participating in their lives. So your subcontractors also sort of develop that positive relationship with your clients. Do you find that?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we look for in our subcontractors. We look for them to build relationships with all the other subcontractors, as well as the clients when they're coming in, whether it be the clients living there and they just need an hour of a little bit of quiet time while they're getting the kids up and ready for school. So we want subcontractors that are flexible and can communicate with the clients. And when they bring a positive attitude to site, I found that them communicating with the client and treating the client with respect, it just comes more natural than if they bring a poor attitude, which is why our team that we use on our project is so important. Instead of us searching for the lowest price, but having a poor attitude and then having a subcontractor that comes back with extra charges later, we bring a team that has reliability and stewardship and communication values and leadership from the front, because we know we can rely on them to take care of us as well, and most importantly, our clients, right?
Yeah, I like that. So your A team of subcontractors, it's not just that they're good at installing doors and windows, it's that they're bringing the positive attitude, they're bringing the ability to communicate and to relate to the customers with the same values that your company holds.
Yep.
And that can bring us into the availability of trades today in this market, what's that like? Do you find it hard to find sub-trades? Do you find it's hard to find high quality sub-trades?
Finding sub-trades is easy. Finding high quality sub-trades is where we've kind of hit a little bit of a snag in the industry. I mean, people have heard it. We have a labor shortage right now. I mean, it's 2023 and we have a labor shortage in the industry. And it's not because the work isn't there. It's that people get into the industry sometimes for the wrong reasons, and they leave the industry when things get tough. They're not there for the clients as much. They're there sometimes just to make money. And that's not why this industry was respected for the work that we do for our clients. It's that we're there to commit to them and to commit to their projects. So yeah, it's finding quality trades that have the same values as we have, ones that represent the clients first. And we get it. The point of being in business is you have to make a profit. But the profits that a company makes is a byproduct of how much they are committed to their client, how much they respect the industry. The reason why they got into the industry wasn't to make profits. It was the pursuit of building amazing things, bringing pride to the industry, bringing respect to our clients in their homes.
So you're saying, especially in this frothy sort of housing market and shortage of trades, there's those who show up when the going's good because they think they can make a buck, and because it's a low bar to access the industry in a lot of cases. So then you look for the ones who have the stick-to-itness, who they're here in the industry because they want to be, and they're committed to it. So they're not only here when the going's good, they've been around for a long time, or they're committed that this is what they want to do. They're creating a name or reputation for their companies, and they're going to be around. So those are the companies that you look for and partner with.
Yep.
So would you say that there's not enough companies like that, or that they get lost in the noise of all these fly-by-nighters that tend to be out there? Or it could be that high-quality companies are booked years in advance.
So yes, good trades are booked out quite a ways, and sometimes the access to the really good companies can be difficult. But if you found the right company for you, if that company respects you from the initial phone call to their in-home consultation, they show up and they're respectful and professional with you, even if they're booked out 6 months, 8 months, whatever that looks like, stick with them. You've already built a relationship with them to where the most important things are going to be, which is in trust and communication. Use that time before you start the project to consult with that company's interior designer partners. Interior designer may take some time to conceptualize something that really represents you, but it's important to start the planning of your project quite a bit sooner than when you'd like to start. So stick with that contractor, bring on an interior designer that's going to start with the planning stages with you. Yes, you're going to have to pay the interior designer up front, obviously, for their working time, but it's that plan that works for you now. If the interior designer is building something that represents you, not a trend, that plan is going to work for you in 6 to 8 months. So find your team of contractors. That's a general contractor, the project manager. Find your interior designer, stick with them, work on the plan, and then when the time comes, that job will start. It'll actually start off a lot smoother than if you rush into it.
Right. So your suggestion to the customer is to be proactive and say, I want to do a project next summer. I'm not going to start calling around in June. I should be picking my contractor now and starting on my designs and plans now if I want it to go smoothly? Would you say that if you don't start with a good amount of time ahead, does that contribute to the project dragging on, getting delayed, and going less smoothly?
Oh, 100%. Anytime you rush into something, details get missed, critical details. Things like we were talking about the kitchen island, right? You hire a contractor, they say, yes, I can install cabinets into your kitchen. When would you like to start? Client maybe says next week if you got availability. All of a sudden, contractor gets excited, starts to rip out your cabinets, and then, oh, flooring needs to be extended. Oh, we can't find the flooring that you need. Now you have to search around for a different type of flooring. Then you're looking for selections. It drags that time on. Now you don't have an island. Sometimes that means that you now don't have a sink in your kitchen. All because you rushed into the project and didn't take the time it takes to plan through the minute details.
Yeah, so someone might say, yeah, well, if I hired someone to come in and consult, the price is going to be higher than if I just get Handyman Joe to come rip out my island. Would you say that ends up costing more? What they might miss is now you're trying to find the flooring, you're in a rush, you're making decisions under pressure, which means you don't have the ability to shop around for pricing on your materials. You think that balances out? So at the end of the day, they thought they were saving money when really they end up paying the same and having more stress and maybe an inferior product at the end of the day.
Yeah. When you rush, you're more likely to spend more money up front than if you hire a consultant for a few hours. You're going to get a lot more stress because all of these hidden things that, let's say, handyman Jack and Jill may not have the expertise in, they're now backpedaling to find things that work for you. And they don't want to be in your home for any longer than they have to. So now they're trying to find a product that they think looks good. And you're excited to get the project done because now you're stressed. And you might say yes to a product that you aren't going to like once it's either installed or after the honeymoon phase of your project happens. Now, 2 years down the road, you look back at this flooring and you don't like the gray undertone or you don't like the grain the way it looks. 9 times out of 10, you either do one of two things. You're either going to leave it and just not enjoy it, or the other thing is you're going to say, well, we messed up. We'll do it right this time. Now you're ripping that flooring out and replacing it with new flooring, which, again, more cost.
Yeah, so you actually end up paying twice. So then can you speak to how much, so to help out customers who are listening, but also contractors, how much communication should there be ahead of time, so before the project, and how much time should people have an expectation of spending, talking to the project manager and to the contractor to ensure things go smoothly? So can they expect 1 hour once a week or 1 hour once a month, just to set an expectation? And let's say it's a residential kitchen remodel. Just broadly, how much communication and how often it needs to happen for things to go well?
Yeah. So for a kitchen renovation, for example, depending on what the client wants, whether they want a lot of communication or just the important pieces, it can vary from quick emails or messages, or it could be a system that contractor has set up with a login for their client that shows them the stages of the project. So that could be one form of communication, which is a lot lighter, or it could be an hour a week where we walk the client through the project and show them what stages are happening, show them what has happened, maybe show them the things that have arrived that are about to be installed, and update them that way. There isn't a set amount of communication, but regular communication should be happening with your clients on updates. And it's pretty simple to update with technology now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so of course, it's going to depend on how much input the client wants to have throughout the stages. But you're right, it should be consistent, regular updates between them and the contractor. And this might be an obvious question, but say someone is walking through their kitchen on the weekend and they say, oh, you know what, I'm not sure about this flooring that I see piled in the corner that's about to go in. At what point should they let you know? At what point should they make the contractor aware, of their concerns?
Yeah, as soon as you have that thought. As soon as you have that thought, communicate it with your contractor. And in the case of working with Lionheart, with the interior designer, it's better for us to discuss it before it's down. What happens if, let's take flooring, for example, if it's a stocked item, then yes, we can do a change order. That may delay the time that it gets installed, which may delay your project. But if it's not what you want, then we don't want to put it down, right? If you're okay with the delay of the project and the cost associated with that, we're happy to change it, and any contractor should be, but there's going to be extra costs. One of the costs might be a restocking fee for that flooring. Another cost might be admin fees in order for them to procure that new flooring. In the case of the designer, it may be another 2 hours of their time to work selections with you. So there's going to be extra fees associated with that, but the extra fees that are going to happen in this case, especially on a large scope item like flooring, are important for you to communicate and have fixed before things move and progress further. Otherwise, the last thing we want to do is to install it, you regretting not telling us. We're happy to communicate with you.
Yeah, 100%. So the communication can and should be two ways, not just someone waiting around to get updates from their contractor, but they should keep the contractor, the designer in the loop and say, oh yeah, I'm happy with how things are going. I have such and such concern. Or maybe they just need something explained to them, like how is this countertop going to look once it's finished? Some kind of detail. So no one should be afraid to ask questions and make sure the communication goes both ways.
Not at all. And I mean, if the contractor's done their job and built a relationship with you as the client, they should be more than happy to communicate those things with you once you have those discussions with them. If you haven't built a relationship, then they're likely to be more reluctant. And if they're not communicating with you regularly, then there was an issue from the start.
Yeah, so that's establishing the relationship and the communication from the get-go. So that way they're not afraid to ask you a question. Even if they think it might be a dumb question, they're still going to ask you because you've got that rapport established. So that's another important aspect.
There are no dumb questions, just questions unanswered.
Exactly. I like that. Okay, one more different topic. I like to talk about the future. What do you see as, what direction is the industry moving in overall? So if we're talking custom homes, custom renovations, what do you look forward to in the next 10 years? And what do you see moving forward?
First thing is this industry is going to be improved upon. There's a number of companies within Calgary that we're in talks with regularly, and we all want to make this industry something that we can be proud of and that our potential clients can be proud of and trust. So that's one thing. The industry is going to change in a positive way. Second thing would be innovation. No longer are people necessarily wanting to live in homes that they see everywhere. They're looking for homes that function the way they do, move the way they do, look the way they want it to look. They want unique one-of-one designs. I'm really looking forward to where design in the industry is going and how unique we can make these buildings. And then the last thing would be environmentally too. we're way more focused on using sustainable materials and recycled materials and materials that don't have off gases and VOCs. So environmentally, we're getting a lot more conscious in building and building green homes and things of that sort. So I'm excited where the innovation with technology, design, and the environment go. Yeah.
That's all exciting stuff that I'm looking forward to too. So when you say there's customers who want one-of-one designs and the unique homes, what's that customer profile like? Who are the people asking for that? Is it the millennials who are entering the job market? Is it the boomers who are all retiring en masse? Where do you see demand coming from for the really cool types of projects?
Yeah, I see it all over, really. I guess you called them the boomers, right? They lived in an era where production homes were so popular, and they were also from the era before, which was told just put a roof over your head, which obviously is important, and be comfortable in your home. You're there to sleep, eat, use the washroom. Now we're in an era that's gone through so much changes with innovation technology, where people from all walks of life, they want things that are unique to them. They want things that when they are in their home, they can enjoy, whether it be in Canada, having a golf simulator so that they can work on their game all year long, or whether it be a theater where they can spend quality family time together, developing bonds with their kids and their pets sometimes. And just people are a lot more in tune with how they want to feel in their homes. And I don't think that has a generation or an age range right now. It's quite unique. Obviously, the younger the generation, the more in tune they are with technology typically, but we're seeing it from all over.
That's super interesting. So all walks of life, now they know what they want in their homes. And do you think that's a product of COVID to some extent, that now it's not just where you go to sleep and eat? A lot of people are working there, they're working out there, so that has taken on more roles than it used to have. Is that just technology and society moving forward, or is that COVID made people realize?
Yeah, I mean, COVID may have played a role, but it wasn't the reason. The reason was innovation and development, which has been going on since internet inception, right? It's been going on since then, where we really took leaps of faith with the unimaginable. So did COVID play a role? Yes, but it wasn't the reason. We were destined to finally see and learn that we should love our homes, not just live in them. Living in it is a house, loving it is a home. It was destined to happen. COVID just extrapolated the process, I think.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we were already on that trajectory, that vector, and it just got accelerated a little bit, where people, I guess, in 3 years of COVID, people spent 6 years worth of time in their houses. So then they realized, oh, wait a minute. I don't want this just to be 4 square walls that I stare at dinner time. I want to make this an expression of myself.
Yeah. That's fresh, an extension of you.
An extension of you. I like that. Okay, so can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. You can find us around the city. Don't be afraid to say hey and ask us any questions. When we're out and about, we're happy to just have a chat with you on the street. Happy to. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram. You can find our website through Google. Also on LinkedIn, if you want to connect with myself, you can also find us on there and ask any questions, or if you want to go and grab a coffee, we're happy to sit down and chat, help you out however we possibly can.
That's a generous offer.
It's been great. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. So thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
Hopefully we'll have you on in the future.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to this episode. You can share this with your friends on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and Make sure you follow us for the next episode. We are talking to a great Calgary-based interior designer. Catch you on the next one.